Hello, everyone, and welcome into another Football Sunday. Thank you so much for joining us on the Money Down presented by BetPrep right here on the Draft Network's YouTube channel. Look, where each and every week we give you all betting advice, tips, and hopefully some good advice to help you secure some money. That's right. We want money in your pockets on this show. As always, I'm your host, Kelsey Nicole Nelson, with the Draft Network's very own Jaime Eisner. Now, today, Jaime and I will be holding down the fort because we were without Brentley Weissman. He will return next week. But right now, Jaime, are you ready for some Week 7 NFL action?
I am, and maybe we get some reverse fortune here. The week that I was not able to be on, Brentley Weissman killed it. So hopefully I can kill it this week, and we can get up several units in this exciting Week 7 slate. It's amazing how quickly this season's going by.
I'm saying the same thing. Like, it's Week 7 already. I remember the first week of the show, Jaime, and now here we are where we're talking about even playoff implications, right, with teams. Every game truly starting to matter. And yes, Brentley, hopefully some of that good luck now will rub off on Jaime. And Jaime, to start with that good luck, let's start with our first game. We've got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the San Francisco 49ers. Right now, the Niners are 3.5-point favorites. We've got the total at 42.5. And the Colts and 49ers, what could be a sloppy game out west due to a forecast of bad weather, right? Extreme weather expected with wind gusts that could reach up to 40 miles per hour and heavy rain. We'll get to see Jimmy G, though, going against the Colts on Sunday night with Trey Lance ruled out. And quarterback Carson Wentz will be without his two fastest receivers, and Paris Campbell, who was placed on injured reserve. And Colts wide receiver Ty Hilton has also ruled out of Sunday night's game. A positive for the Colts, though, Jaime, three-time All-Pro guard Quentin Nelson was activated from IR. How are you seeing this game going, Jaime?
Well, they're going to need him because they're going to have to run the ball a lot. Both of these teams are going to have to run the ball a lot. We heard the phrase hurricane force winds in the Bay Area for this game. It's going to be wet. It's going to be consistently windy, major wind gusts. That means I like this total to go under. It has been dropping all week long. I took it at under 44. It's under 42.5 right now. I would still take it there. I think this is going to be a very wet, sloppy, ground and pound football game. A lot of Jonathan Taylor, a lot of Elijah Mitchell, as both these teams just try to get out of this game.
Yeah, like very sloppy football weather. But if you're a football player, these are the games that you live for, right? The gritty games that we can all look forward to, though it might not be that fun for football fans. But for my pick, Jaime, look, Jimmy G, he's back for tonight's game. But I just don't think that's going to be enough. I know some people think he's a savior, but look, I'm just going to be realistic with football talk. And this is in one of the more Amazon against the spread stats. The San Francisco 49ers are actually on a 7-game against the spread losing streak as home favorites. So something for those out there for you all to remember. And just now is the time to get in front of that number. So, Jaime, for my pick, I'm going with Colts at plus 3.5. All right, I'm feeling it. I know it's a pick, but I'm trusting it, Jaime. But like you said, expect the weather to play an impact in this.
Well, Kelsey, game. And that's a good point, because when we talk about sloppy, low-scoring games, you always, and especially with two close teams, you want to be on the side getting points. If this stays close here. So a field goal and a hook, I kind of like your pick there. If I didn't go this way, that's the path I would have taken.
See, Jaime, great minds think alike. Great minds always think alike. All right, let's head over to our next football matchup. We've got the Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Tennessee Titans. The Chiefs and Titans meet in Nashville. Kansas City, a 4-point favorite. The total right now, we've got 57.5 for this game. It's actually the highest total of the season thus far. Chiefs defense will have their hands full as Derrick Henry leads the league with 783 rushing yards and 921 all-purpose yards. But Henry faces a Kansas City Chiefs defense allowing 5.2 yards per carry, which is actually tied for second most in the league. Jaime, I feel like Kansas City's going to be like, well, you guys, why do you keep hating on our defense? But Jaime, I'm just spitting the facts. The facts are there, right? The proof is in the pudding.
Look, they haven't been good, and they deserve to get hated on a little bit here. You said this was the highest total of the season so far, but it isn't high enough. I love all the points in this game. I'm still taking the over on 57.5. You have the perfect combination here for a high point total. You have two top 8 scoring offenses, two bottom 9 scoring defenses. This is the perfect matchup of offenses clicking on all cylinders, defenses that are massively struggling. I could see both teams getting into the 30s in this matchup.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising at all, like you said. And as I look at this matchup for my pick, so far this season, the road favorites are 21-16 against the spread. The Titans did just score one of the more impressive victories of the season last week versus Buffalo, which I'm sure many of you all tuned into. But I'm just not sure if their defense is ready for the Chiefs. The Chiefs have scored 35 points in each of their last two meetings versus the Titans. Give me the Chiefs team total over 31.5 for my pick for this game. Again, another good game that I think many of us are looking forward, a great marquee matchup. And Jamie, I hope you're ready for our next game because we've got the Chicago Bears taking on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And right now, Tampa Bay is a 12.5-point home favorite versus the Bears, y'all. So this is a game that many in Tampa Bay will be watching very closely. Our 11.5 now. The total 47. The Bears face the number one run defense in the league and defending Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay. The Bears will be without tight end Jimmy Graham, who was placed on the reserve list for COVID-19, joining outside linebacker Robert Quinn. Jamie, in this game, who do you like in this matchup?
Well, the Bucs are a historically bad spread team, as a lot of the elite teams in the league are, because of public money coming on them. Their totals get set really high, and I know it's come down a full point over these last couple days. I still don't really love that, so I'm going to go with the over here. I'm going to take the over 47, and I did some research over on BetPrep, and I was curious what the average score was in games during the Tom Brady era that the Buccaneers were double-digit point favorites. The average score, 58.2 points. 4 of those 5 games, the total has gone over. And the only game it didn't, it went under by 1 point. So I love those trends. I like the over here. And I'm assuming the Buccaneers are going to score plenty. I just get a little nervous with a double-digit point total with a team that has really kind of been around 500 against the spread so far in the Brady era.
All good points, Jamie. All good points. So completely respect your pick. For my pick, when I first saw this number, look, my initial reaction was to back the Bears. Then I thought about Justin Fields versus the Buccaneers defense, which is a reality. You can move the ball in the air versus Tampa, but I wouldn't trust Fields for throwing for more than 30 passes, all right? Less is more for Fields in the passing game. The Bears, they run the ball well, but the Bucs have a dominant run defense. So give me the Bears team total under 17.5 for my pick for this game. Jamie, this is just getting me excited going through all of these games. Again, lots of great games to keep our eyes on in week 7 of NFL action. And now heading to probably what some are calling one of the more exciting games of the day. Let's head over to Cincinnati versus the Baltimore Ravens. This is one of the marquee matchups of the day. The Ravens right now, 6.5-point favorites in Baltimore versus the rival Bengals. The total is sitting at 46, all right, or now 45.5. This will be Baltimore Ravens' first divisional game this season, and they will be in a battle for first place of the AFC North. Jamie, the AFC North division is one that has us all talking right now. We're talking about all this great quarterback play that we're getting right now from many of these teams. So what do you like in this one?
I like this. Was an interesting one for me because I think this is going to be one of the most exciting matchups. I went with the Bengals team total. I saw this and it's sitting at 20.5, and I thought that was a little low for me. So I'm taking the over. Cincinnati has hit this total in 5 of the last 6 games, and in the Joe Burrow era, in games in which he started and finished, 11-4 that they have scored more than 20.5 points. So I expect both of these offenses to have some success today. I believe this is going to be a really exciting, both for a football standpoint, a fantasy football standpoint, and a point standpoint. So I'm going to take the Bengals here to get to 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, exciting all around basically is this
Yes.
game. And I think definitely the game to be watching, all right? If you don't watch one football game today, probably want to make sure that it's this football game with the Ravens and the Bengals. For my pick, look, the red-hot Baltimore Ravens put their 5-game winning streak on the line right now versus the 4-2 Cincinnati Bengals. And back in the spring, the look-a-line ahead on this game was Ravens at -10, getting the Ravens at less than a touchdown. Huge value. Baltimore is 3-0 against the spread versus the Bengals in their last 3 meetings. All spreads of 11 points or more. So for my edge, I got the Ravens at -6.5 for my pick for this game. Again, a game that we'll all be closely watching, especially to my fellow people here in Baltimore. All right, Jamie, we've got one more game to cover in this segment. Let's go on and talk about the Atlanta Falcons taking on the Miami Dolphins. The Falcons, 2.5-point favorites versus the Dolphins in Miami this afternoon. The total is 47.5. Jamie, so curious to hear your thoughts on this matchup and where you went for this pick.
So if we want to break the fourth wall here for a little bit, we were talking in the pre-show meeting. We're always discussing, what games we
Yeah.
want to open the show with, and I throw out this game, and everybody looks at me like I've got three heads. They were like,
We did
"Why?"
scratch a little bit, Jamie.
We're talking Sunday Night Football. We're talking Chiefs, Titans, Bengals, Ravens,
Mhm.
big AFC powerhouses, and I come out with I want to talk about Falcons, Dolphins, and look, here's why. This might be a game that means nothing for playoff implications. Probably a game you're probably not going to watch unless you're a fan of either one of those two teams. But sometimes a matchup between two bad teams can be really, really exciting, both from a betting standpoint and a fantasy standpoint. And I think that's where this game is going because I think there's going to be plenty of points. I am taking the over here on 47.5. You have two suspect defenses, two offenses that, Tua looked okay, at least from a statistical standpoint with the volume in his return. The Falcons leading into the bye looked a little bit better. They really started to come out of their shell a bit in that London game where we saw Kyle Pitts really take over. Calvin Ridley is going to be back in this game. And if you look at this Falcons team in warm weather climates, here's another really interesting stat from BetPrep. When it's 80 degrees or more and they're on the road, they are 11-2 to the over in their last 13. They are 7-1 to the over in their last 8 against teams that average less than 90 rushing yards per game, and Miami is not running the ball effectively at all. And I don't think Miami's going to have much trouble putting up points on Atlanta's defense. So you put all of that together, I think 47.5 is just too low.
It's too low for Jamie. Completely understand. I love that warm weather fact. Again, we love this show because we always bring the facts to you all when we're making these picks. And for my pick for this game, look, the Falcons laying 1.5 points. Very intriguing until you realize that Atlanta is 4-8 against the spread as favorites since 2019. In that same time frame, the Falcons 9-9 against the spread on the road. Money just doesn't grow on trees, all right? So picking a side in this game is a challenge. The total opened up at 48 and has since come down slightly. The Dolphins are 6-4 to the under in their last 10 home games. So give me under 47.5 for this game. Me and Jamie going at it for this one.
Head to
For
head.
my pick. So now we will be one of those people in America actually watching this game, Jamie, because we have some implications on this game. Again, looking forward to all of these great matchups. You all, week 7 of football, and what a great slate of games that we've got stacked up for today. We hope you all are enjoying the show. Don't go anywhere because when we return, we'll come back with our prop bet. Will, be sure to stay tuned.
I am joined once again by NFL sharp Tommy the Hitman from BetPrep, here to go over 3 of his best bets of the week. Let's get right into it. You have something that you like in the Carolina-New York Giants game, the Sam Darnold versus Daniel Jones, former New York Bowl, that's now Panthers-Giants here. What do you like in this matchup?
Yeah, I bet the under 43 in this game. And, Carolina's failed to gain any yardage on 25% of their runs this season. Yet head coach Matt Rule came out saying that Panthers are going to redefine who we are and run the football. Rule also went into great length about protecting the football and saying that he wants to see 30 to 33 rushes per game, which for context, that's how many runs Tennessee ranks, who's first in the NFL. So, the New York Giants, they have injuries on offense that continue to mount. Kadarius Toney, Saquon Barkley, Kenny Golladay, Andrew Thomas, all likely out for this game. The Giants' implied team total is 20.5. Yet this is a Giants team that with Jason Garrett as their offensive coordinator has scored over 20.5 points only 8 times in 22 games. Also, Carolina ranks 3rd in the NFL in pressure rate, and Daniel Jones has historically played terrible when pressured, so under it is.
I like it. Let's move on to another game here. The Eagles are 3-point underdogs against the Raiders coming off their first win without John Gruden. You're favoring the dogs in this matchup, aren't you?
Yeah, so long term, I believe that the John Gruden firing is going to be a negative for the Raiders because of the impact that he had as a play caller and a game planner for a Raiders team that, in my opinion, is lacking talent at some crucial offensive positions, such as their offensive line. And this matchup against the Eagles, against their front, who has Javon Hargrave and Fletcher Cox, just isn't great for Vegas. The Raiders are also underratedly one of the league's worst team in rushing offense and EPA. And Derek Carr's Raiders offense, they've just lived down the field this year, but the Eagles' pass defense has allowed the second least 20-plus yard passing plays in the NFL. And, the Raiders, they closed a 5-point underdog at Denver. They've been upgraded in the marketplace a lot for that rally the troops win, but I just don't believe it's sustainable. Home field's probably worth 2 points for the Raiders, and I have these teams rated as equal, so I'll gladly take the 3 with Philadelphia.
All right, let's wrap things up with the Monday Night Football matchup. Jameis Winston, the Saints, coming off of the bye against Geno Smith and the Seahawks in Seattle. What do you like in this matchup?
Yeah, so the Saints' last game against Washington perhaps has made the odds makers forget that the Saints are just a dead nuts under team. The Saints' offense ranks last in the NFL in 20-plus yard gains, and in their last nine non-Drew Brees starts over the last 2 seasons, just twice has a Saints game finished with 45 points or more. And, surely this is the type of game where Sean Payton's going to tell Jameis Winston, hey, listen, Seattle's offense isn't going to threaten much. Just do not turn the ball over. And why is the Saints defense not going to be threatened? Well, it's because we can expect a run-heavy attack from Seattle. Head coach Pete Carroll said after the Steelers game, that's how we played at our best for years. You might want to complain about us running the football, but we scored 20 points in the second half doing it, and we did it by controlling the game. Well, they're going to be running the football against the Saints defense that ranks first in the NFL in yards per carry allowed, and they were third last season. So with these two offenses being two dead nut run first under teams that are hiding their quarterback, under we go.
I love it. The Saints over the last few years have been one of the best, if not the best, run defense in the NFL. It's usually them and the Bucs that you really do not want to run against. So I love the call there, and I love all 3 of them. So make sure you guys get your bets in before kickoff today and before kickoff on Monday Night Football. That's Tommy the Hitman from BetPrep. I'm Jaime Eisner, and we'll be back with you next week.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Money Down presented by BetPrep right here on the Draft Network's YouTube channel with Jaime Eisner and me, Kelsey Nicole Nelson. It's now that time to get a chance to spin the wheel and see where the odds take us with our wheel of props. This week, again, you all will see a wheel with 32 NFL team logos. Whatever team logo it lands on, Jaime will pick a player from that team to give you all his prop on. And with that, Jaime, are you ready to spin the wheel?
Let's go. Let's get started. I feel like I'm on a game show.
All right. I know. Let's spin the wheel. Big money, big money, big money. Let's see where we land. Looks like we are first starting off with, the Baltimore Ravens. And let's see who our player is for this one, Jaime.
Your neck of the woods. So, I'm thinking about a lot of different Ravens in this matchup, but I'm going to go with a bet that I've made on the show a couple times. We're 1-1, so this will be like the rubber bet, for lack of a better phrase. I'm going to take Marquise Brown. I'm going to take the over on his receiving yards. It's sitting at 54.5 right now. That feels a little bit too low. As we talked about in the last segment, I expect both teams to pass the ball and score plenty of points here. Brown's averaging 81 receiving yards per game. He's gone over this total in 4 of his 6 games. And as I looked the other day, I think he's averaging about 66 yards per game in his career against Cincinnati. He's somebody I like a lot this week, has the potential to blow by this total. If he holds on to the football when he's targeted in this matchup, again, no Sammy Watkins in this game either. If he holds on to the football in this matchup, he should be able to go over on 54.5.
I like that. Marquise, you've got one job today. Be Hollywood, catch that football, right? Do not let it drop. Many are calling for him to step up big because I think we know Mark Andrews will be a target, but Hollywood Brown, him and Lamar, best friends off the field. Hopefully they can be best friends on the field today as well. Jaime, I like that pick. All right, let's go back to our wheel and let's see who our next is that we'll be talking about. All right, we're spinning, and this time we are landing on, the Carolina Panthers. This is the team we need to talk more about on this show.
I know exactly where I'm going here. So if you have listened to me on the TDN Fantasy Podcast, or really anything that I've done, You know how I feel about Sam Darnold, and you know how I feel about Sam Darnold on the road. He has been an atrocious road quarterback throughout his NFL career. I expect that to continue. I'm going to take the under on his passing yards in this game, 237.5. He's gone under in each of the last 2 games. Plus, Matt Rule said they want to run the ball a little bit more, give the rock to Chuba Hubbard a little bit more often. I know the Giants' defense isn't scaring anybody right now, but Sam Darnold on the road has been historically bad. I'm going to bet on that trend continuing. I'm going to bet on it going under for the 3rd week in a row.
All right, going under. I guess maybe that's why the Jets are like, that's why he is the one that got away. All right, so we'll see how he does in his performance today. Let's head back to the Will and see what our next NFL matchup team will be. And we are going to, we're spinning, and we're landing on, the Washington football team, showing the DMV some love today, Jamie.
So this was one of my favorite bets, and I know exactly where I'm going here as well, because this is one where sometimes the books take a few weeks to adjust to a certain player, particularly when they take on a new role. Ricky Seals-Jones has taken on the tight end 1 role of literally never leaving the field since Logan Thomas went on IR. I'm going to take the over on his receiving yards, which is still too low. It's under 40. I believe it's 38.5. He's getting 7.5 targets a game in these 2 games since Logan Thomas has been out, averaging 49.5 receiving yards per game. And as I mentioned, I think he's missed 1 combined snap offensively in these 2 games. He's on the field constantly. I expect Washington to be playing playing from behind against the Green Bay Packers, meaning they're going to have to throw it a ton. Antonio Gibson is banged up, which means you're going to have to throw it a little bit more. I think we're going to see a lot of J.D. McKissick, a lot of Ricky Seals-Jones, and a lot of Terry McLaurin in this game.
Yeah, Ricky Seals-Jones is one Washington fans better catch on quickly because he will be an impact player. I said that last week on radio, so looking forward to that one, Jamie. Let's head back to our Will and see who our next team is going to be. We are spinning, and it looks like we are landing on, the New England Patriots. So where are we going with this one, Jamie?
They are gifted the matchup against the New York Jets in this game. I thought about the Jacoby Myers prop. That's usually my go-to in this one, but I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to look at Damian Harris anytime touchdown. I expect the Patriots to be leading in this game, running the ball as effectively as they can, which means Damian Harris has as good a chance as any of getting in the end zone. He scored in 3 of 6 games this year, and the Jets are actually allowing more than 1 touchdown per game to the running back position so far this season. So if there's ever an opportunity, I believe the odds on this one are -112, so it's really not bad for an anytime touchdown. If you're feeling frisky and you want to go first touchdown bet, by all means, you'll get a little bit better odds, but I'm going to play it safe here and go anytime touchdown at -112 for Damian Harris.
All right, Jamie. Next time you're on the show, we want the frisky pick, all right?
Okay.
But no, it makes sense. We're expecting Damian Harris, I think, as well, just to play big in this game. And I think, again, make an impact in this football game and hopefully get in the end zone. We're going to head back to our Will for our next one. This is fun. Let's see who we're going to land on next. We keep going, and we are landing at, the San Francisco 49ers. Where are we going with this one, Jamie?
Yeah, so it's deciding which under I want to take. Like I'm betting that the weather is going to win this football game is essentially what I'm saying. You know what? Give me Jimmy G under. This total has fluctuated a bunch. I have a ticket right now at 225.5 on the under. This has moved a ton. I'm not even sure what the actual line is because of the weather reports, but I like the under. I think they're going to have to run the ball effectively, both of these teams, quite frankly, in this game in order to have success. I can't imagine they're going to put the ball in the air, and it's not like Jimmy Garoppolo is a quarterback. You say, go win us the game with your arm, kid. It's not really been his MO so far. So I imagine a low-scoring, run-heavy game, which means not a lot of passing yards. And look, do you want to throw the ball in 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts? I don't.
Not me either, Jamie. Not me either. Again, the wins, they're going to just win this ball game. So like you said, you want to play safe football. And Jimmy G returning, I do not think he wants to make himself look bad, especially with that quarterback battle that we've got going on in San Francisco. All right, so let's go back to the wheel, Jamie, for our next pick. Spinning the wheel, we're spinning the wheel. And this time we're landing on, the Arizona Cardinals. How are we talking about this undefeated team, Jamie?
All right, so you want a frisky bet here?
Let's do frisky.
Our friends over there at PointsBet, you can get a free bet if you bet enough, and because I bet enough, I got some free betting money. I threw a few bucks here on James Conner 2+ touchdowns in this game against Houston. The Cardinals are 8 18-point favorites in this game, which means they should be leading a lot, which means they should be running. And when they want to run the ball between the tackles, they are trusting James Conner to be their guy. And when they're running the ball inside of the 10, they're trusting James Conner to be their guy. He's got multiple touchdowns already in 2 of the last 4 games. Houston is allowing more than 1 touchdown per game to running backs this year at 3-1 odds. This is a bet that I like a lot to take a shot on.
All right. I'm excited about this one too. But like you said, and look, and James Conner, we shall trust for that one. All right. Let's head back over to the wheel for our next pick. Let's see. We're spinning. And it looks like we are going to land on, Philadelphia Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly, Jamie.
Yeah, you know what? This one's interesting because I thought about maybe going something with Miles Sanders here because the coach is talking about not getting him more involved, and quite frankly, he needs to be. But I'm going to go with a bet I've won already twice this year, and I'm going to try to go win it again. That is Jalen Hurts over on his rushing total. It's still in the low 40s, 42.5. He's averaging 50 yards per game on the ground this year. He has gone over this total 4 of the last 6 games and twice since I bet on it. So I'm going to go back to the well on this one again and expect Jalen Hurts to run around a lot. And it's sometimes tough to watch Jalen Hurts football games, I'll be honest with you, particularly in the first half. But if you look up at just the box score at the end of the game, you're usually fairly happy with what you get from a betting and fantasy standpoint. So that's kind of what I'm hoping for here.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, Jalen Hurts is fun to watch. Maybe not so much for Eagles fans, but like you said, you look at the box score at the end, you're like, all right, we made it. We made it through. We've got some points on the board. But I'm like you. I thought this was low. I thought this was way too low. Like you said, we see what he can do rushing the football. So if I was a wise woman making a bet, which I like to think I am, I would have also done this one as well, Jamie. All right, I think we're going to go back to the wheel for another one, Jamie, if you still have it in you. All right, looks like we're spinning. And this time we are landing on, the Cincinnati Bengals. Jamie, I'm curious to see where you head with this one.
Yeah, this one hurts me. And I'm almost hoping I reverse jinx this because this is a player I like a lot, and it's T. Higgins. I'm going to take the under on 54.5 receiving yards. He's gone under in his last 2 games since he's come back. He's only averaging 48.5 yards per game this year. So I'm going to kind of take the under here, secretly hoping that he has a big game and I can trust him again because I really love the talent. But right now, Jamar Chase is just soaking up so many of those targets right now that it's really affecting the consistency of both Higgins and Tyler Boyd. So while this number is still above 50, I'm going to take the under.
Yeah. All right. Like you said, Jamar Chase is getting all the football love, which is probably making some fantasy people very happy right now. But again, all eyes on T. Higgins to see what he does in this football game. And I think, Jamie, you really need to go back to the wheel and just keep spinning. I feel like these are getting me excited. So many great player props we have in this one. All right. Well, actually, nope, we're done with Jamie. So we're going to actually head to break really quick. And don't go anywhere because we'll be right back with the NFL BetPrep breakdown. So stay tuned because more of the Money Down is next.
I'm once again joined by Brad Feinberg, the player prop sharp over at BetPrep we're going to have 10 more prop bets, really 11. You'll see what we mean by that at the end of the show. But let's get right into it right now. Let's start with a Corey Davis receptions prop. What do you like this weekend?
Yeah, look, Jamie, Corey Davis, I think this number's too low, 3.5, 14-6 over again. I do get all this research right on BetPrep. It's great stuff. 14-6 over his last 20. Just think he's a solid player. They are an underdog in the game. Granted, the Jets are an underdog in every game, it seems like, Jamie. But I do think, he's been consistent. He's 4-1 to the over this year. I just think there's a better chance he gets 4 than he gets 3. It's trying to be tight. I'm not expecting to have 6 or 7, but I think I just like his consistency this year. He's been going over. I think he's Wilson's number 1 target. And I just think 3.5's a little light because they always make it a half, right? I thought the fair number probably should have been, a little before.
Well, speaking of the Jets, let's talk about a former Jet that's struggling a bit right now. That is Sam Darnold. And you like the under on his passing yards total. You think these struggles are going to continue here into week 7?
Well, I know me and you actually just talked, Jamie, off air about what coaches say. And you're like, yeah, well, sometimes you can trust it and sometimes you can't. Well, this one I actually do trust for multiple reasons, kind of got it somewhat direct. So I do believe it in this case. He basically said, we're not going to line up and throw the ball 40 times a game. And I think games are going to be won like that for us. So we're going to, quote unquote, redefine who we are. And we're going to run the ball and we're going to protect our quarterback. We're not going to turn the ball over. So, when I see that, I actually believe it. I actually do believe. Now, I was looking to maybe also take what's his name's over, Chuba Hubbard's
Chuba
over.
Hubbard.
They made it, but they juiced it very high. They did. They juiced it very high, so I laid off that. I was thinking of taking DJ Moore's under, but they lowered that substantially. But I don't think they lowered Darnold's enough. He's gone under this 17 of the last 23 games, including his last 2. Anyway, and I just think everything what we heard from the coach, I think Darnold's going to be kind of put a little bit on a leash this week, and I think he goes under 200, let alone 240.
Let's talk about another under. You have the under on 3.5 receptions for Cole Kmet, was used a little bit more last week, but his usage all season's been pretty sporadic.
Well, listen, and this reminded me a little bit. We took the I took the under in Zach Ertz against Tampa Bay when no Dallas Goedert played because and plus the Tampa Bay matchup is kind of a juicy matchup. I just thought the adjustment was a little too high. I just think the same thing here. I get it. They're facing Tampa Bay. And this will be very, very interesting for me because I've called Justin Fields the bubble boy because I feel like Matt Nagy refuses to work to this guy's strengths, refuses to do anything at all with this guy. He's just petrified to use him. And now he's actually facing a game where it's very hard to run the ball in Tampa Bay. So we actually may have to throw the ball. I'll be interested to see what Nagy does. But Cole Kmet, 14-5 to the under in his career, 4-2 this year. He averages 2.3 catches per game. You're going to jack it up 1.2 catches based on the matchup and the fact that it's hard to run in Tampa Bay. Maybe. I get it. But I just think it's too high, and I'm going to dare him to get the 4. I don't trust anything with the Bears offense.
From a line that's too high to one that's too low, it feels like the books have been very hesitant to raise DeAndre Swift's receiving yard total week after week. You like it again here. I'm checking right now, 35.5 receiving yards for a team that's throwing the ball for almost 40 times a game. It's down a lot. It has injured and poor receiving core. I love this one too, but tell everybody why you like the over for
he's
DeAndre
gone.
Swift.
Well, first of all, again, you got to look at the game script here, right, Jamie? They're a 15.5-point underdog.
Yeah.
So there's a great chance they're going to be trailing in this one, a phenomenal chance. And who does he throw the ball to? DeAndre Swift. And we've seen less and less snap counts from Jamal Williams on top of it. Swift has gone over this 5 of his last 6 games, averaging 50 yards a game. I'll be stunned if this one loses. This may be my favorite prop of the week. He's going to be utilized heavily. They're going to need to pass the ball, and I think he'll be the guy that's the beneficiary of it.
All right, there's a bunch of props in this Miami-Atlanta game, so let's talk about them here in a second. It's going to be the most appetizing game to watch, but from a betting standpoint, there's a lot to like. Let's start about exactly. This is actually one of the games that we've already talked about here. We're going to be talking about on the show, but Myles Gaskin. So let's talk about this bet. This is the one on the Miami side. His over/under is 33.5 rushing yards. He has not been used heavily really at all this year. He had the one big receiving game a couple weeks ago, but this Dolphins team's losing a lot of games, and they're really not committing to the run regardless. And I'm assuming you see that continuing here in week 7.
Jamie, that's exactly right. Now, listen, I saw this number, and I was hoping somehow I was even going to get in the 40s, but I knew that was probably a pipe dream. But I'm just looking at his usage rate, last 5 weeks, 5, 13, 2, 5, and 5. Those are his carries, okay? Here are his yards, 25, 65, 3, 25, and 9. They used Brown, Malcolm Brown last week. They're using Ahmed a little bit, and they just passed on top of it. I know it's a low number. And I know I could get bit because it's such a low number, and he could just run off an 18-yard run, and I'm probably going to be drawing dead. But I just think he's getting so few carries, Jamie. And if he keeps getting if he only gets 7 carries, I have to like my bet if it's 7 or less carries because he's not theoretically going to average 5 yards.
Welcome back to the Money Down, presented by BetPrep, airing live on the Draft Network's YouTube channel. We are now about to be joined by Patrick Everson of Props US in conjunction with BetPrep for the BetPrep breakdown. Let's welcome in Patrick. Patrick, how are you this Sunday morning?
I am very good, Kelsey. Thanks for having me. Got the big board, the Mirage behind me. Let's rock and roll. Let's do this.
All right, let's start with it. So our first game, Patrick, Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Las Vegas Raiders. It looks like Philadelphia may be a live dog in this game. What does the ticket count look like?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I just heard behind me. This number is down to 2 now, Raiders 2. So you're definitely getting the best of the number if you're holding on tight here waiting for the Raiders, although I get a feeling that could go back up. I don't know if it's going to go much lower than 2. It seems like a field goal as everybody heads to the counter before this game. But this has definitely been an interesting game, and there's definitely been interest in the Eagles. Even here in Las Vegas, BetMGM Nevada, they were at 3 all week, briefly 3.5, very briefly 3.5 on the Raiders, then down to 3. And like I said, now I think I'm hearing they're down to 2. Tickets 2-1 Raiders, but money just a little more on Raiders, even though it's a hometown team, and the game is just a couple of miles down the road from me at Allegiant Stadium. Really good two-way at BetMGM Nevada. Now, nationally, it's a little bit different at BetMGM. There's actually a little the ticket count not too heavy to the Raiders, but the money is heavier to the Raiders. So kind of a different dynamic going on nationally with BetMGM. But definitely the Eagles are getting some love. I think they're a trendy dog. There's almost certainly some sharp play on the Eagles as well.
Nice. Very interesting things for everyone to keep eyes on as we look at that game. And heading over, Patrick, to our next matchup, the Washington football team taking on the Green Bay Packers. Is the money on the Packers or the football team?
It's not on the football team. Look, this line has come down a couple of points. There's definitely been sharp play. Certainly at BetMGM Nevada, there's been sharp play on Washington. Plus 10, plus 9.5, plus 9 down the ladder. This got as low as 7.5. And now it's 8.5 at BetMGM Nevada and at many other spots. And there's certainly interest in Washington. But generally speaking, even if on straight bets the tickets and money are close, which in some spots they are reasonably close, why that line's gone down, the parlays, the moneyline parlays and teasers are all running to the Packers. They need Washington really big at BetMGM, both locally here in Nevada and nationwide. In fact, Jason Scott at BetMGM, Vice President of Trading for BetMGM nationally, he said, look, the Packers not covering would be helpful. The Packers losing outright, he said, would be a dream scenario. It's very unlikely to happen, but they would really like it to happen because all the parlays, all the teasers, all the moneyline parlays are running to Green Bay today. They need somebody to help bust that up.
Right. So if it happens, that would be a big thing for us to keep an eye on. And Patrick, heading over to the next game, we've got the New York Jets taking on the New England Patriots. I want to ask you, Patrick, are people betting on the New York Jets in this game?
No. That's as succinct as I can be. No, they're not betting on the Jets. In fact, it's a similar situation with the Patriots and with the Packers. At BetMGM Nevada, the Patriots are taking the second most parlays behind only the Packers. And on straight bets, it's 5-1 tickets, 8-1 money on the Patriots. BetMGM nationally, similar situation. All the tickets and money going to the Patriots. Multiple other books, Twin Spires, PointsBet, Caesars. It's all Patriots, tickets and money. Definitely going to need the Jets. They'd like the Jets to at least cover to break up the straight bet parlays. They'd love somehow for the Jets to do better than that to help break up the teaser and moneyline parlay liability as well. No question.
Hopefully the Jets can help us out with that one. And heading over to our last game.
Well, they're not helping out the bettors, though. That's only helping out the books.
I'm sorry, bettors.
We're rooting for the bettors here, too, you know?
We do want to show them some love. We do want some money in their pockets, Patrick. And heading over to our last game, Houston Texans taking on the Arizona Cardinals. Arizona is laying a big number today. Is the public backing them?
Yep. I think they must be a little bit because, again, I'm literally right up at the counter, so I've heard the ticket writer behind me say that the Cardinals are now 19.5. I don't have it in front of me, so I apologize. Perhaps you know they're in the studio. But 19.5, look, this was 17 to 18.5 and back to 17.5. If it's now 19.5, they're definitely getting some public love. I can tell you at BetMGM Nevada, there was sharp play on the Cardinals early at 17 at the huge number, just as there was on the Rams at 15 on the huge number, which is kind of interesting. But it sounds like they're getting some public play, maybe a little bit of sharp activity, or just the people unable to stomach that huge number thinking the Texans will maybe get a backdoor cover for them. I don't know. But for me, that's a game I just stay the hell away from. I would highly advise it.
just staying away from it, keeping it safe. Completely understand. Patrick, it's such a pleasure to have you again. A special thanks to Patrick Everson for joining us live. Coming up next, we will have our go-to picks in this week's Bold Bet. So stay tuned because we'll also be debuting a brand new segment. You won't want to miss it. More of the Money Down is next.
Sometimes the truth hurts. And in the case of Aaron Rodgers and the Chicago Bears, the painful truth for Bears fans is that yes, Aaron Rodgers owns you. I'm Brian Perez from the Draft Network, here to break down the tale of the tape between Aaron Rodgers and the Chicago Bears. First, we'll start with the record. Aaron Rodgers is 21-5 against the Chicago Bears in his career in the regular season and has won 10 of the last 11 games he's played at Soldier Field, dating back to the 2010 NFC Championship game. He's thrown a remarkable 57 touchdowns to just 10 interceptions against the Bears defense, nearly a 6-to-1 touchdown to interception rate, which by any metric is ridiculous. He's thrown for 6,208 yards, has completed nearly 67% of his passes against the Bears defense, and his record against Chicago ranks as the third best record for any quarterback against a single opponent, with at least 25 starts dating all the way back to 1950. This is according to ESPN. So yeah, when Rodgers told Bears fans at Soldier Field after he scored that back-breaking fourth quarter touchdown in Week 6 that he owned them, he was telling you a painful truth. The best defense the Bears actually might end up having against Aaron Rodgers, believe it or not, is Aaron Rodgers himself. Look back to last offseason when Aaron Rodgers and the Packers looked like they were headed for a really messy divorce. Rodgers wanted to be traded out of town because of his contentious relationship with the Packers front office. That never happened, but it appears like we're headed for an even messier offseason in 2022. If Rodgers is able to force his way out of town with a trade, that means the Bears won't have to face him twice a year. Neither will the Vikings or the Lions. So yeah, maybe the only way to stop Rodgers is to get him out of the division. But he's not gone yet. So the Bears' last chance in this last dance season to take out Rodgers will come in Week 14 at Lambeau Field. And call it a hunch, but I have a feeling Aaron Rodgers will make it 6 straight wins against the Bears to close out what really hasn't been much of a rivalry at all. Rodgers has the Packers humming at 5-1. They're in sole possession of first place in the NFC North. And if you look up and down the division, there's really no team that feels like it can compete with Green Bay at this point. So Rodgers is doing his part against every defense. It's hard to stop him no matter who you are. But it's really bad in Chicago, and it's even worse when it's because of the Bears-Packers rivalry. Follow me over on Twitter at Brian Perez NFL, and make sure you're checking in at thedraftnetwork.com every day for your latest NFL news and NFL draft analysis.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back into the Money Down, where it is now time for a brand new segment. Jamie, I'm going to toss it over to you. Can you tell us more about our friends from Prize Picks?
Yeah, Prize Picks is a really fun way to bet, and a lot of different ways to bet. Actually, we'll throw you up what I have a lineup on so far this week. If they could show us on the screen. See, this is a really intriguing way because it is a player prop parlay builder. You can do 2, 3, 4, 5. There are a lot of different ways you can win. But what's a really unique experience is you could take some of the numbers we discuss on the show, like rushing yards overs or passing yards or anything like that you normally bet on. But as you see on the screen here, you can also parlay fantasy totals. So if you feel like, I really want to get into betting more, but I don't necessarily feel comfortable predicting the exact number of yardage or touchdown scoring, but you feel like you know fantasy better, here's a great way to merge those two with Prize Picks. If you use the promo code TDN, you can earn up to a $100 bonus when you sign up and deposit. This is just one of the 3 lineups I have in so far for Week 7 on Prize Picks. You see Cordell Patterson over 15 fantasy points. Joe Burrow over 17 and Darrell Henderson over 16. And I have some ones that are mix and matching. You can mix and match fantasy and yardage totals. It's a really exciting way to bet. It's a really exciting way to mix fantasy and gambling together, two of my passions. So if you haven't had a chance to check them out yet, be sure to check out Prize Picks and download their app today.
Definitely fun. Like you, two of my passions put together. I had a quick chance to do it myself. I had Daniel Jones going over. I had Jalen Hurts going over, and then I had Devontae Adams going over as well. So definitely looking forward to all of those. So Daniel Jones going under. Sorry, Giants fans. It's just
what to say.
It's a lot to think about. All right, so heading over to our segment that we're used to doing now, Jamie, our Go for Two picks. Are you ready to debut your first one, Jamie?
I'm ready. Let's go right away here. And this is a bet that I love, Kelsey. This is a bet that we talked earlier about books not adjusting quick enough to certain players. And one of those players has been Cordero Patterson. Right now, the total on his receiving yardage is 39.5. I love the over here. He's averaging 59 receiving yards per game. He's gone over in 4 or 5 games this year. The Dolphins are allowing 200 receiving yards per game just to the wide receiver position this year. I know he's a running back, wide receiver hybrid, whatever it's going to be. I know the Howard and Jones are both going to be back this week. Do not care. I expect Cordero Patterson to fly over this total. This is still too low, even with Calvin Ridley returning.
Literally flying over that total. I like it, Jamie. So for my first Go for Two pick, I'm going to Baltimore with the Ravens at -6.5. I like the Ravens at home, laying less than a touchdown. Lamar Jackson is 3-1 against the spread versus the Bengals. So that's what I'm going to with my first Go for Two pick, Jamie. So hopefully for next week's leaderboard, we both get both of those right. Now, Jamie, give me your second Go for Two pick.
So I'm going to stay consistent here. Remember, I said I'm going to bet on the wind in Sunday Night Football. So I'm going to take the under on Brandon Ayuk, 32.5 receiving yards. Look, he hasn't been that involved in the offense to begin with anyway. He still apparently is in Kyle Shanahan's doghouse. He's only averaging 22.5 yards per game, even if you take away the nothing burger in week 1. And if you add that in, he's under 20 yards per game. He's gone under in 4 of the last 5 of this total, and just considering the wind and the rain and all the weather here, I just can't see this being the game he breaks out.
Yeah, and you definitely never want to be in Coach's doghouse, all right? As a player, you never want to get yourself into that spot. For my second Go for Two pick, I'm going over to the Eagles at +3. This number has actually moved, and the Eagles are now 2.5-point underdogs. But so far this season, the road dogs of 3 points or less are 13-6 against the spread. So that's my second Go for Two pick, and I'm feeling confident in that one. And talking about confidence, Jamie, we like to end with our bold bet. So I'm very curious to see, Jamie, where this week's bold bet takes you.
Yeah, I liked a couple different things, but I kind of settled on this one for the show, and that is the plus odds at more than 2-1 on a defensive touchdown in the Carolina-New York Giants game. You've got 2 turnover-prone quarterbacks. I think there's going to be a very interesting opportunity here for a pick 6, a fumble return for a touchdown. Discussed Road Darnold. You have the Daniel Jones under. These are just 2 quarterbacks that turn the ball over a ton historically, going up against each other. I imagine that we have a couple opportunistic defensive plays in this game. And I believe it's plus 240 on PointsBet right now. I'd throw a few bucks on that just for fun. A pizza bet, as our friends say over at BetPrep.
Okay, I'll take that one. And Jamie, for my bold bet, I've got the Washington football team on the money line. I know it's a long shot, but the football team is 2-1 on the money line in their last 3 meetings versus the Packers. All right. So again, 2-1 on the money line in their last 3 meetings versus the Packers. So yes, give me the Washington football team on the money line. And yes, I'm saying that with some confidence because this is my bold bet. I know somewhere Brentley's watching us like, just wow. We can't wait to have, of course, Brentley's bold bets next week when he returns to the show. But Jamie, this was a fun one. And of course, again, thanks so much to everyone for listening. That will do it for this week's episode of The Money Down. We appreciate you all tuning in. And we look forward to seeing you all next week on Sunday at 11:45 a.m. Eastern Time. As always, please be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. The Money Down will be here each and every week to give you all betting advice, tips, and more. So we'll see you all next show. And also be sure to check out our college version of the show every Saturday morning. Bye, guys.
Good luck.